Good afternoon. This is Sports on All Angles. Marissa Langeni stepped down from her position as SA Hockey CEO, and that happened just last week. That's after serving the association for over 12 years since her appointment on the 1st of July in 2009. Langeni now joins us for more on this. A very good afternoon, Mrs. Langeni. Wow, I can't believe we're actually talking about you stepping down as SA Hockey's CEO. But let me start off this way. After 12 years since arriving, give us a sense of what it was like at the beginning of your term.
Good afternoon, Arthur. Thank you so much for the chat this afternoon. Yes, 12 years. It doesn't seem so long when I think about it. But it definitely has been 12 years in this particular role. I joined South African Hockey in 2009. There was no blueprint for the job that I was embarking on, purely because I was the first ever appointed CEO of the South African Hockey Association. So I walked in fresh into a job that had no job description, no blueprints, absolutely nothing. And I had to find a way to carve it into the role that I had envisioned for SA Hockey. And basically, it was an amazing journey over the 12 years.
Marissa, I'm sure you have high and low moments, probably more high than low moments while you were in charge. Can you describe any of them?
Yes, definitely. I think in 2009, when I first joined, the organization was not in a very good financial footing. I think it's a story of a lot of national federations around the country. So one of my first jobs was to ensure that we would be able to deliver on the big event that was happening that particular year, which was the Champions Challenge in October of 2009, and also to get the men's team off to the 2010 World Cup. So I leaned on a lot of national government support. The then Minister Makengesi Stofile assisted me in making sure that we could find the necessary funding to ensure that the teams participated in the events. And of course, the National Lotteries Commission also came to the party. But in terms of my highlights, definitely amongst all of them would be the spectacular qualification of both our national teams for the London 2012 Olympic Games. As you would know, our participation in the Olympics was never guaranteed. So having not met the criteria at that particular point in time for SASCOC and to be given the opportunity to go to additional qualifying tournaments, the women had to jet off to India. The men had to then go to Japan, and they qualified in spectacular style. So that, I think, for me has always been one of my treasured memories of my time at SA Hockey. Of course, hosting other international events on our shores, making sure that South Africa was always the destination of choice for teams coming to either play test matches or to come in for FIH events themselves. Those are definitely my highlights. The most recent one would be our inaugural advancement in the Pro League for the men's team, as well as hosting the Junior World Cup on African shores.
Well, Marissa, I mean, having said so much already, you've touched a little bit on some of the challenges that you faced while you were in charge. I mean, how do you feel about the level of competitiveness in women's hockey in particular? Because you did speak about qualifying both the men's and women's national team, but the level of the women's sport has really increased and raised to another level.
Absolutely. I think the girls have shown year on year what they can do, what they can produce. The big challenge, obviously, in that space is always around funding and ensuring that we can have a properly funded high-performance program. And I think with that, Arthur, we could see the women's team featuring regularly in the top 10 in terms of global rankings. The sky is the limit at this stage. And I think as an additional team sport in South Africa, outside of the likes of the netballs and the crickets, hockey definitely can be amongst the best of them. We've just recently appointed a national head coach, Giles Bonnet, who comes back into the fold, immense amount of experience, having traveled globally and coached other global teams. So the women's game definitely is set to go back into upward trends of competing in the top 10, and I certainly wish them well in that regard.
Well, Marissa, I mean, what would you like people to remember you for in your time at SA Hockey?
I think one of the things, Arthur, is trying to make the sport a lot more accessible, trying to make hockey as a brand a lot more visible in terms of the media space and in television platforms. And I think making sure that hockey is viewed as a priority sport in South Africa and a sport that can be accessed by all people from all walks of life. And I would hope that the 12 years that I've spent in this particular role has assisted to position hockey as a people's sport.
I mean, Marissa, where to from here? Are you still going to stay within the industry of sports, or are you moving away completely from the arena of sports?
I stay in the industry. I think sports administration has always been one of my first loves when I started out as a young adult trying to make my mark in the corporate world. I go back to an organization which basically molded me and ignited that love for sports administration. In my days when I was a student, it was called SASU. It has now evolved and has become University Sports South Africa. So this is a bit of a homecoming. It feels like a homecoming for me. And I'm certainly looking forward to the new challenges. Most sports people in our country, from a high performance perspective, reside within the tertiary sports space. So I definitely will still be interacting with a lot of national federations, as well as the Olympic Committee itself.